Hey, I'm Chris Murphy. We're back with another walk around video. Today I'm with a Mahindra 1640. A lot of this stuff is going to apply to the everything's going to apply to the 1640 of course, but most of it is going to be just like if you have a 1635. So I'm not going to do two different separate videos. The main difference is the same family of engine. This is a 4-cylinder, 1635 is a 3-cylinder. The dipstick has a different, the engine oil dipstick has got a different look to it, but it's still in the same general location. Just looked at one, so like I said, I wanted to make sure, didn't want to tell you wrong. But hood looks a little different, that kind of thing. Latches in the center instead of on the side right here, but still very similar, still an automotive style hood. So again, let me remind you, a walk around video. This is to show people that already have one of these tractors what to expect, where to check, or make their mind jingle, and remember maybe what we talked about when they bought the tractor. Where is that engine oil dipstick? Where do you check the coolant? Where do you check the hydraulics? That kind of thing. So what does this symbol mean on the cluster? So this is not a sales pitch. I'm not trying to sell you a tractor right here, but I do want you to know how to operate it once you've got it. How to maintain it is the main thing. So let's get started with the 1640. Mahindra 1640, 40 horsepower of course. Does have the loader. The loader is quick attach off and on the tractor. It is universal skid steer attach on the bucket. You still have your two handles here. This is a little bit, got a little bit of protection over it. You do have grease fittings on these, and I like that when you've got grease fittings right down here to grease the mechanism where that moves. I've got pressure on it. That's one reason it's hard. But like I say, I like the fact that it's got grease fittings on that part of it. Now, loaders, every joint you got a grease fitting. Both ends of this cylinder, both ends of this cylinder. You've also got on this main pin up in here, and it's got a little recessed notch right here where you can get a grease gun in there on it, okay? While we're on the front of the tractor, let's talk about fuel. Number one, buy your fuel where they sell a bunch of it. Number two, put it in a good clean container. Number three, use your strainer. I've said it on every video. We have found fishing floats, shop towels, corks, acorns, handfuls of red molded plastic out of a gas jug. Put good, clean fuel in a good designated container. And I'm seeing something just beyond the camera I'm gonna grab. Stay right there. We got this out of a tractor yesterday. Customer said, my tractor just doesn't feel like it's got the power it should. It's not quite running right. I need to change the fuel filter. Well, he changed the fuel filter. Did the same thing. We drained the tank. That's gasoline. You can't smell it on the video, but let me tell you, that's gasoline. Pay attention to what you're putting in your fuel tank. Gasoline does not need to go in a diesel engine. We were very blessed, got by, don't see any damage. However, he didn't run it long. Good, clean fuel. All right, let's walk back to the back and look at the hitch. Now on your 1640 or your 1635, you do have, this is more of a deluxe tractor, you do have lower links. Push this down, the links slide in and out on both sides. That way when you hook up, if you didn't quite get straight, you've got some in and out motion and up and down motion to help you get hooked up easier. Once you get hooked up, you'll let your hitch down. You may have to play with it to kind of get it parallel. Once it's parallel and you back up against that implement, it's gonna lock into place. You do have some good heavy duty stabilizers right here that are telescoping. I like those. You certainly have your side link adjustment. Top link comes standard on these tractors. You'd be surprised how many times somebody will trade in a tractor and you go look at it, or they bring it in to look at it, and it's got a top link drawbar. When they bring it back to you on the trade, the top link drawbar is missing. Well, they're afraid you're not gonna give them a new top link and drawbar on the tractor. I don't know of anybody, any brand that sells tractors that's not gonna give you a new top link and a new drawbar when you buy a new tractor. Now, some of your subcompacts just got a little weldment back there, just a little plate. But on a tractor that would have a drawbar, it'll come standard. So like I say, nobody's gonna hold out on you. But On the back of this tractor, while we're talking about the drawbar, Mahindra does one of the neatest things that I've seen. You got a wing nut and a wing nut. If you don't want that drawbar in there and it's in the way, if it's sticking out too far, you could go over the crest of a hill, and say you had a bush hog or something on the back with a drive line, you could go over the crest of the hill, the nose of the tractor go down and the tail wheel go down, that drawbar come into your drive line. So you don't want to do that. So if you didn't want it in there, you can slide this out with this pin, just a single pin with a hairpin underneath, and you can put it right here and tighten up the wing nuts, and you got a place to store it, and it's always with you. You're not going to worry about losing it in the barn, somebody come and barn it, somebody throwing it in the scrap bin. You've always got it. So I really, really like that. Another thing I think Mahindra does a good job, and this is so simple, this SMV sign. If you've watched some of the other videos, you know, I just slide them out. Well, that's because they're one side or the other. It impedes your view when you're looking back. This one is in the middle. So if you look back, you're looking here. If you look back, you're looking here. You can't hardly look straight back behind you. So this is in the right location. All right, let's go over here and let's talk about what's in the platform. Again, Mahindra has got a very nice looking and very good feeling seat on these tractors. They do have armrests here. They do fold. The seat does fold over in case you want to have to leave it outside. You don't want to get your seat wet, don't want to leave it out in the sunshine in case you don't have a place to put your tractor. You do have a little toolbox behind the seat, very small, but you're not going to need a lot while you're on the tractor. Shear pins, power pliers, something to tap with. Like I say, small toolbox, because that's really all you're going to need. Okay, let's talk about PTO. This is the switch. You would push down, turn it on, let it spring up. Now your PTO should be turning. Well, Chris, it's not turning. Get this call a lot. Okay, it's not turning. Push down on that. So all you have to do is just push down with your finger. It turns it off. You've got this other one. That's yellow. This is yellow. That might go together. Okay. Your PTO is out of gear right here. When you mash the clutch and push this into gear, now this switch will put the PTO on. Okay. Now, just like some of the other tractors we've got with PTO that's neutral, with this in neutral, now I can twist the shaft in the back of the tractor when I'm hooking up to a bush hog or a tiller or what have you. I don't have to twist the blades or the tiller around to spline up the shaft to slide on. I can do this with your hand in the back of the tractor, with the tractor off, of course. Always take safety first. But if this were a hydrostat tractor, this is not, this is a shuttle, but if this were a hydrostat with a pedal, or some tractors have two pedals, you engage the PTO with this on a 1640 or 1635. A lot of hydrostat tractors don't even have a clutch pedal. The 1635 and the 1626, the 1635 and the 1640 on the hydrostats do still have a clutch pedal. The only reason that clutch pedal is there, so you can mash the clutch, engage the PTO, release the clutch, now your PTO is turning. You just don't have a switch there because it is a hydrostat. All right, transmission-wise, we've talked about the clutch. When you shift the range, this is high, this is low, where it's in right now. When you shift the range, you mash your clutch and stop. On anybody's tractor this size that I'm familiar with, I'm not aware of anybody that's got a synchronized range transmission unless you're a full power shift, okay? So when you shift low and high, you'll want to mash the clutch and stop. Now on the 1635 and the 1640, your speed transmission, 1, 2, 3, and 4, is a synchronized shift. So you will mash the clutch, you can still be rolling. But what you don't want to do is go to slamming gears. You want to take your time. Make sure when you shift a gear on a tractor that you come out of that gear. Right now it's in second, so come out of second, work it side to side, find third or fourth or first, whatever you want, and then go. You don't want to just try to cram, because what you'll do on a tractor is not quite as fancy as what's in a car or something. You may have linkages that are blocks. So you may shift it and not get it all the way over here, and now you're bumping your linkages. So make sure that you're making a positive shift. Your shuttle, of course, is a synchronized shift as well. On the Mahindra, you see how this slides out to the side, so you're gonna slide out to the side with the clutch mashed all the way. You're not gonna do this as you begin to clutch. You're gonna clutch completely first. So clutch completely, come out to the side. Of course, it's dead now, so it's a safety thing. It's not going forward, but still, forward gear, neutral, reverse gear. But make sure you can't just do it while it's up here. You got to go away from the dash and back and forth, and the clutch must be mashed. Okay, right down here is four-wheel drive. You see you've got an O and an I. Some people call that in and out. That's just kind of a universal standard for engaged or not engaged, or off and on, that kind of thing. Up is in the O, that's off. Down is I for four-wheel drive, is on. All right, let's talk about your hitch. This is how you raise your three-point hitch and drop your three-point hitch. We've talked about this several times. This is a needle valve on the return side of the three-point hitch. So if you've got this opened all the way up, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, you got it backed all the way out, and you've got your hitch all the way up, depending on how heavy your implement is on the three-point hitch, if you just throw this down, it is gonna fall because it's got no restriction on the return side. As you screw this needle valve in on the return side, the more you screw it in, righty-tighty, the slower that hitch is gonna come down because it's got restriction on the return side letting it out. You have to be careful because if you get it turned all the way in, you see the little symbol for off with the O, or that needle valve's like this and the hitch is not gonna come down. If the needle valve's all the way in, the hitch won't come down. So if you ever catch yourself in that situation, somebody's monkeyed with it, whatever, you got a heavy load on there and you can't even turn this by hand because you've got the hitch down, just the weight of the implement up there. Crank the tractor up, raise the hitch or pull the lever all the way back. That should relieve your pressure enough that you can open this back up, okay? Now, differential lock. Mash this down with your heel. That's gonna make both back tires pull positive traction. Yet again, to take that out, you may have to change direction from forward to reverse or reverse to forward, or you may have to separate your brakes and use one brake or the other for that to spring back out. Because it's spring loaded here and you're using your heel to push it in, it's held in by pressure. So when you change those gears or hit one brake or the other, it's gonna relieve the pressure and let it slide out. Right here is where you would check your hydraulic rear end fluid. That runs your transmission and your differential, rear axle housings, all that run in the same fluid. You do have a dipstick right here and you would add in the same location. Right here, you do have tilt wheel. You can get a little adjustment there for your liking. This is just where you set your park brake, mash it with your foot, mash this down, pull up on that and it locks. To release it, just mash down with your foot. Now you do have a hand throttle. Instead of being up here on the dash, it's right here on the side. I really kind of like that. So you can control your engine speed right here with your hand throttle. Say you're out there and you're cutting, you're bush hogging, whatever, and you've got your PTO up at the back turning 540, which on this tractor at the engine's gonna be about 2,500, 2,400. You can look at the specs and get the exact number, but still, you're gonna be up here where it says 540. Your blades are dull, you hit some thick grass, that kind of thing. You need to give it more RPM because your needle's dropping down. So you do have a foot throttle. You can overcome that situation. Whenever your RPM start catching up, you can let off. And if you have to, you can certainly adjust here and give it a little bit more. Okay. On your cluster, make sure that's all the way down. You do see you have an intake heater. Now this poof of smoke right here, that is for tractors that have like a regen system or something like that on there. These tractors do not regen. And I say these tractors, the 1600 series, the 2600 series, your 6000 series, they do not regen. Anything in between, your 4500, your 5100, they don't regen. Mahindra spent a lot of money on these MCRD engines, Mahindra common rail diesel. They do not regen. So like I say, a lot of people really like that fact. But this cluster, somebody probably makes that cluster for them and they probably sell them to somebody that's got that. So don't worry about that. But what I wanted to show you was, see if I can find it. I just saw it this morning. It's got a glow plug light. There it is, right there. Little yellow light. All right, and when I say glow plug, it's just out of habit. Some of these new engines don't necessarily have glow plugs. You may have an air intake heater. To be honest with you, I don't personally know. My parts guy or service guy could tell you, but right now, it is a preheat for the engine. So you'll let that light stay on, crank the tractor, should do fine in cold weather, go from there. Now, these new engines, most everybody's engine, they crank a lot better in the cold than the ones my granddaddy sold back in the 60s. So cold start, if a diesel engine doesn't crank in the cold, especially in the southeast, right here in northeast Mississippi, more than likely you've got a little water in the fuel, something like that, a restriction in the tank, whatever. May need to change your fuel filter, but if it's hard to crank, you got something else going on, okay? You do have your turn signals here, flashers, headlights, high beams, and low beams. All right, I think we are ready. Well, one more thing before I raise this loader. You can't see it from where you're standing, but a lot of people are familiar with this. When you quick attach the loader, these hoses, you got 4 quick couplers, they are color matched. So that way when you go back together, it's very easy to do that. So we're gonna raise the loader up, and I'm gonna show you how to raise the hood. All right, to raise the hood, you can see we've got the loader up. I do have the lock on the joystick locked. If you watch some of the other videos, you'll see a piece of angle iron with a piece of cardboard right here protecting this. If you notice it's on the other side, I thought that might be easier not to have to shoot around. But to raise the hood, the first step, you've got little knobs here on the grill guard at the bottom. You pull them and give them a twist. It's got a notch cut out across there, so whenever you pull it out and twist it, there's a little roll pin goes in there and holds it out. Pull this forward. Now, a while ago I mentioned the 1635, the hood latch is different. Where this hood latch is here, your hood latch on the 1635 is right in the middle. You do have an automotive style hood, steel. It does raise up or help you raise it up. It does hold itself up. Really like that feature. Everything's very easy to get to. Now, your air filter's right in the front, really easy to get to. Batteries right here, easy to get to. You do have a main fuse here. You've got an overflow jug to check quickly and easily if the tractor's already been running, how to check your coolant. However, I still am a believer of checking out the radiator cap. Now, when you're out here running a cutter or something like that, high debris, you're going to get off and wipe the grills off. Some of that stuff is going to get through here. It's going to stop in this screen. This screen, you wiggle it up a little bit, slides right out to the side with the tractor off. If we did this with the tractor on, you pull it out, it's going to suck over here and suck right back up in the radiator. Then you got to go to the house and blow it out right then. But take this, wipe it off, slide it right back down in the notch. So easy a tractor salesman could do it. Now, not a whole lot on this side of the engine to show you, but your oil filter is right there, very easy to get to. This has got some additional side panels, so we're going to take the other side off. You got one wing nut here, and it's got some rubber grommets on pegs that slide together on the back to hold it on. Let's go around here, I'll show you. Got the wing nut, and it does have a keeper on the back of this, so you don't have to worry about dropping it, losing it, that kind of thing. They kind of thought on that one. I like that, because that would be me, the one that dropped it in the pasture and couldn't find it. I'm just going to wiggle this forward. You can see it's got the 2 rubber grommets. It's got 2 pegs back here that you just slide those on, line up your bolt, tighten it down. And you can see that won't come out. It's got a little keeper on there. I really do like that. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Murphy, why do you even have that on there? Well, that helps with airflow. It helps with a lot of debris getting in there. I really recommend that you leave these on. Engine oil dipstick, right here, very easy to get to. Engine oil fill. I'm gonna give this a little twist, pull this off right on the front of your engine cover right here. That is where you're gonna fill your engine oil. You do have two fuel filters. You've got a fuel filter back here with a drain on the bottom, and it does have a primer pump on the top to prime it up. You've got a secondary right here, and it's got a drain on it, let the water off. This is your secondary, this is your primary. Very easily serviced tractor. Again, the 1635 looks a little different right here, but still the same family of engine. It's a 3-cylinder, where this is a 4-cylinder. Got some fuses and relays here under the hood. You certainly got some underneath the dash and whatnot, but that's not something you're gonna be monkeying with a lot. Most people are gonna bring that kind of stuff to the dealer. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're learning a little bit. If you've got one of these tractors, don't hesitate to call us, and we'll try to answer anything you've got, and we'll go from there. Chris Murphy at Murphy Brothers right here in Booneville, Mississippi, 662-720-0022.